All right, ready to dive deep into some neuroscience.
Let's do it.
Today, we're tackling how to brainwash ourselves for success,
Sounds intense.
but in a good way, I promise. We're dissecting Dr. Joe Dispenza's conversation with Jay Shetty.
Okay, I'm familiar with his work. He's the neuroscientist who talks about rewiring your brain, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just theorize, he's got serious research to back it up. We're going to pull out the most actionable insights so you can actually use this stuff.
Awesome. So where do we start?
Well, Dispenza really stresses the power of our thoughts, especially those we repeat constantly. He calls them a double-edged sword.
How so?
They can build amazing things, but also trap us in negativity. Like, think of a negative thought you have often. Maybe, I'm not good enough. Something like that.
Oh, I know that one. Wow.
Right. But here's the thing. Dispenza's research shows that each time you think it, those neural connections in your brain get stronger. So that thought, even if it's not true, starts to feel more and more real.
So we're literally wiring our brains for negativity without even realizing it.
Kind of freaky, huh? Makes you realize how much control our minds have, even when we're not paying attention.
So how do we break free? How do we start rewiring for success?
Dispenza says we have to accept that change is going to be uncomfortable at first.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're creatures of habit.
Totally. Our brains and bodies crave the familiar, even if it's negative, just because they're used to it. He uses this analogy. Imagine you've always been a spectator, and now you're suddenly on the field playing the game.
I get it. It'd feel weird, scary even.
Exactly. Uncertain. But if you keep running back to the bleachers, you never get to experience the game.
So it's not enough to just think positive. We have to push through that initial discomfort and intentionally rewire.
Right. It's active. Dispenza's big on mental rehearsal. He has a key to this. Basically, it's like taking your brain to the gym.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does that work?
So you vividly imagine yourself acting and feeling the way you want to, and your brain is tricked into thinking you've already experienced it, which makes the real-life change easier.
Interesting. So if I get super nervous before presentations, instead of focusing on that anxiety, I should imagine myself delivering it confidently, feeling calm and in control.
Exactly. Seeing that audience engaged, everything flowing smoothly.
So by practicing success in our minds, we're setting ourselves up for success in reality.
Powerful stuff. But what about our emotions? Where do they fit in?
Right, they play a huge role. Dispenza says emotions are essentially a record of the past. So when you dwell on a negative memory, you're literally reliving those emotions chemically, strengthening those neural pathways and staying stuck.
Wow. So even if we're trying to think positively, if we're still holding on to negativity from the past, our emotions can sabotage us.
Exactly. It's like running two programs at once. Dispenza talks about the importance of emotional mastery, which is basically learning to regulate our brainwaves. We're all familiar with beta waves, right? Being alert, focused, but sometimes stressed.
Yeah, definitely familiar with that state.
But for real transformation, we need to shift into slower brainwave states, like alpha and theta, associated with relaxation and receptivity.
And that's where meditation comes in.
You got it. Meditation's a powerful tool for this, but Dispenza views it a little differently. For him, it's about becoming aware of your old self, those ingrained patterns and reactions, and then consciously choosing to step into a new self, rewiring at a deep level.
Okay, so we're literally rewiring our brains. What does he suggest we do during meditation to make this happen?
He's big on focusing on moving beyond the physical body, your surroundings, even time itself, to reach the present moment, that place of pure potential.
It sounds challenging, especially in our always-on world.
It is, but his research suggests the rewards are huge.
I can definitely see the appeal. So meditation helps access these slower brainwave states, become more present. What other tools does Dr. Dispenza recommend?
He's a big advocate for breathwork.
Breathwork. Sounds a bit simple.
It may seem basic, but specific breathing techniques can regulate your heart and brain rhythms, which restores coherence and boosts energy. You know how when you're stressed, your breath gets all shallow and erratic?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, that throws those rhythms out of whack. Breathwork helps get them back in sync.
So by controlling our breath, we can actually control our energy and even influence brain activity.
Pretty much. He even suggests combining breathwork with visualization to amplify the effects. It's about creating a powerful signal to attract what you desire.
Aligning your inner frequency with your goals. I like that. We've covered a lot, but there's one more piece of Dispenza's work I'm curious about. The power of community.
Oh, that's fascinating. His research shows that when groups of people meditate together with shared intention, seemingly random events become less random.
Really?
Yeah, it suggests there's real power in collective consciousness, like our thoughts and intentions can actually influence the world around us.
So we're not just talking individual transformation, our collective energy matters too.
It seems that way. Dispenza suggests that focusing on inner peace and connection creates a ripple effect.
Wow, so by doing our own inner work, we could actually contribute to a more harmonious world.
That's the idea. Think about how sharing these practices with loved ones could strengthen those relationships and create positive change.
It's incredible to think about the possibilities. We've covered so much ground already, from the power of our thoughts to mental rehearsal, emotional mastery, meditation, breath work, and even the potential of collective consciousness. Dr. Dispenza gives us a powerful framework for rewiring our brains for success. But before we run ahead, let's rewind and unpack some of these concepts in more detail.
Absolutely. There's a lot to explore here, especially in terms of how we can apply these ideas to our own lives. Let's unpack some more of Dr. Dispenza's ideas about rewiring for success. What I find so fascinating is how he brings together that ancient wisdom with hard science.
Yeah, it's not just fluffy self-help stuff.
Right. He uses practices like meditation, breath work, but then explains the neurobiology behind them. It's not just think positive. It's about how these practices can actually physically change our brains and bodies.
It's that scientific grounding that I find so compelling. He's not just theorizing, he's measuring these effects, like on heart rate, brain waves, even gene expression.
And it's incredible the results he's seeing. People healing from chronic illnesses, overcoming addictions, things they never thought possible.
It's powerful stuff, but he's also very clear that change takes effort and a willingness to, well, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's where a lot of people get tripped up, right?
Totally. He talks about how transformation inherently means stepping outside our comfort zones, challenging those deeply ingrained beliefs and behaviors.
It's easy to hit that discomfort and just quit.
Oh, absolutely. Like your mind's racing during meditation, you're trying to change a habit, and there's so much resistance, it's tempting to just give up.
It's totally natural to want to go back to what's familiar, even if it's not good for us.
Right. But Dispenza argues that this discomfort is actually a sign of growth. It means we're stretching, expanding, pushing those boundaries.
It's like working a muscle you haven't used in ages. It's going to be sore, but that means it's getting stronger.
I love that analogy. So it's not about avoiding discomfort. It's about building the resilience to move through it.
Knowing we're becoming stronger in the process. You know, he also talks about the link between stress and energy.
Oh, right. That whole thing about how stress just drains us.
It's not just a feeling, there's a whole physiological process. When we're chronically stressed, our bodies pump out hormones like cortisol, adrenaline.
Which are good in small doses, right?
Yeah.
Like for fight or flight.
Yeah, for immediate threats, but long term, they wreak havoc. It creates this state of incoherence in the brain and heart.
Our systems are out of sync.
Exactly. It's like a car engine that's out of tune, running rough, inefficient, and likely to break down.
Which is why we feel so drained when we're stressed.
Yeah.
No mental clarity, focus, creativity.
Even the energy to feel inspired. We try to fix it with external things like sugar, caffeine.
But Dispenza says the real solution is internal, learning to regulate our state.
Exactly. Creating more coherence within. Through things like meditation, breath work, even consciously choosing positive emotions.
Like gratitude, love, that sort of thing.
And get this, his research suggests these practices can lead to something he calls superconsciousness.
Superconsciousness.
Eh.
Okay, that sounds pretty out there.
It does, but it's a state of heightened awareness, expanded perception. He's seen people in his workshops experience spontaneous healings, intuitive insights.
Like tapping into a whole new level of human potential.
He believes it's a capacity we all have, but most of us just haven't learned to access it.
So it's like learning any skill. It takes practice and dedication.
Not about forcing it, but creating the conditions for it to emerge naturally.
But even though it sounds pretty mystical, it's important to remember Dr. Dispenza's work is grounded in science.
Right, he's measuring these changes, showing how we can rewire our brains, transform our bodies.
It's pretty mind-blowing stuff, but it can also feel a bit overwhelming. Like, where do we even start?
That's a good point. I think one of the most important things is simply becoming aware of our thoughts. We often dismiss them as fleeting.
But they have a real impact.
Huge impact. Pay attention to your thoughts, those recurring themes, especially the negative ones. Are they helping you create the life you want?
Once you're aware, then you can start to choose more empowering thoughts.
And it's not about denying negativity, but shifting your focus. This is where mental rehearsal is so powerful. Visualizing yourself, living that life you desire, feeling those emotions.
And don't forget breath work. Even a few minutes can make a difference.
So many techniques out there. Just experiment and see what works for you.
And of course, meditation. It's not as complicated as people think.
Start small. Just focus on your breath. Gradually increase the time. Remember, it's not about emptying your mind.
Oh yeah, I used to think that's what it was.
It's about observing without judgment. Dispenza calls it becoming familiar with your old self and your new self. And here's the exciting part. By doing this inner work, we're not just changing our own lives.
We're contributing to a collective shift.
Raising the planet's vibration, creating a more harmonious world.
That's an awesome thought.
Yeah.
But I'm still a bit fuzzy on this collective consciousness thing. What's actually happening when people meditate together, according to Dispenza?
He draws on quantum physics, which suggests that everything is interconnected.
Not just metaphorically, but energetically.
Exactly. And his research with those random event generators where groups meditating together actually influence the outcome, it suggests our thoughts, emotions, they have a tangible effect.
It's wild to think we're all part of this giant energy field, our thoughts like ripples.
Affecting everything around us. So it's not just personal transformation, it's about creating a better world for everyone.
It really puts things in perspective. He acknowledges that the world's got its challenges, and change can be slow, messy.
But he believes we have the power to overcome those challenges.
By tapping into that collective consciousness.
Creating a future that's more just, equitable.
And he's not just talking about some vague utopia. He's giving us a path, practices to make it happen.
It all comes back to being comfortable with being uncomfortable. We're going to face resistance, old patterns popping up.
It's easy to get discouraged.
But he encourages us to reframe that discomfort.
See it as a sign of growth, not failure.
Exactly. Those challenging moments, they're opportunities to stretch, expand, break free from those limitations.
It's about developing a new relationship with discomfort, embracing it, using those tools like meditation and breathwork to stay present.
Observing without judgment, letting it flow through us.
So we're building that resilience muscle, becoming stronger, more capable.
It's a journey of self-discovery, personal growth, and contributing to a better world.
A journey that's open to everyone.
Exactly. Regardless of your background, your beliefs, you have the power to create change. It starts with taking that first step, becoming aware of your thoughts, emotions, and intentionally choosing to shift your focus.
And cultivate more positive energy.
Within yourself and the world around you.
You know, it's truly empowering to think that we can actually shape our reality.
Not just personally, but collectively too.
Right. But I'm curious about this idea of being the ocean in a drop. How do we as individuals actually tap into that interconnectedness and make a difference?
Dispenza talks about this shift from surviving to thriving.
Okay, I've heard that phrase before, but what does it really mean?
When we're in survival mode, our energy is all about fear, scarcity, protecting ourselves.
We're in that competition mindset.
Yeah, like a sense of separation. But when we shift into thriving, our energy is freed up to connect, collaborate, create.
So it's not just changing our thoughts, but our whole energetic state.
Exactly. Moving from that contracted state of fear to an expanded state of love, abundance.
And that shift doesn't just benefit us, it ripples outwards.
To our relationships, communities, the world.
It makes sense. When we're afraid and feel like there's not enough, we hoard resources. But when we feel abundant, connected, we share, collaborate.
And that creates a more harmonious world for everyone. But Dispenza is clear that this shift takes conscious effort.
It's not just going to happen magically.
Right. It's about intentionally cultivating those positive emotions. Gratitude, compassion, joy. Choosing to see that interconnectedness.
Recognizing we're all part of this bigger picture. But how do we actually do that? Move from surviving to thriving.
He recommends a practice called blessing the world. Sounds a bit woo-woo, but it's powerful.
Okay, what is it?
You take a few moments each day to send out loving energy, blessings to everything around you.
Okay, I gotta be honest. I'm a little skeptical. Can just sending out good vibes really change anything?
Well, think about Dispenza's research on collective consciousness. Our thoughts, intentions, DO have an impact, even globally. And when we bless the world, we're not just sending out positive energy.
We're also shifting our internal state.
Exactly. When we focus on love, gratitude, compassion, we elevate our own energy too.
It's a two-way street. By blessing others, we're also blessing ourselves.
And as we radiate that positivity, it ripples out, touching others, creating a more harmonious world.
I like that image, the ripple effect. Reminds us that even small acts of kindness matter, and makes me think about something Dispenza said about stepping into our power as conscious creators. What did he mean by that?
He's saying we're not just victims of circumstance, we get to choose our thoughts, emotions, actions. And by making those choices align with our values
We create a reality that reflects those values.
for ourselves and the world around us.
So, taking responsibility for our own energy, recognizing we have the power to shape our reality.
Yes, moving from that what's happening to me to what am I creating?
We're not just drops in the ocean, we are the ocean in a drop. As we awaken to that power, we become conscious creators.
Shaping a reality that reflects our deepest desires, aspirations.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. Dr. Dispenza's work is mind-blowing,
It gives you a whole new perspective on the power of the mind.
and the potential we all have to create positive change.
It's truly inspiring, reminding us we're not just here to survive, but to thrive, to connect, create, contribute.
And it starts with that first step.
Exactly.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to check out Dr. Dispenza's work, experiment with these practices, discover the power within you, keep learning, growing, and keep creating the life and the world you desire.